Well, it's been a tough 2 days of grinding, pounding, welding. I got one side of my industrial tins done. I don't know if I'm going to keep the Chinese tins that are on the top because I had to take them completely apart to make them fit the Panchitos. So me and this guy have been spending a lot of time together lately. I don't have a name for him yet. I've named just about every one of my tools except for this dude. Maybe we'll just call him Dude. But here's what we got. Yeah, mistakes were made. This is a horrible mess. I could not get this part to go over the head. And when I did, well, this was already broke on this side. But when I did, I had to cut this. I had to take this completely off and separate it and then put it back on and then pound the hell out of it. And now it looks like crap. So I don't even know if I'm going to use these. I got it on there. I welded another piece on the bottom to cover up that because that was showing and it looked like horrible. I don't know if that's much better, but yeah. I'm learning a lot about shaping metal lately. I got it to fit on there nice. I also put another strip on here to make this line up with the case. I also put a strip on here to make it line up with the fan. Same on this side. And I also did that here and clean that up. I didn't want to put out another welding fab metal bending video of me making the industrial tins. If you want to see that done, watch Brent from Haptic Garage. He does a great job. My case here is a little bit different, so I'll show you some of it. But for standard bug with J-tubes, he's the one to watch for that video. For a Baja that has the exhaust going over the top, I'll show you how I did it. Here is the original tin that I got with the car. It is for heater boxes and all that. It doesn't work. I don't have heater boxes. My exhaust actually goes up and over the head. So all of this can be basically blocked off with one sheet. So here's what I made. Lots of pounding and welding and shaping and bending and rebending and bending again. So let me put you in a stand and we'll put this thing together and I'll show you what I got. So for this bottom piece, I might take some of this out of here because it kind of covers up. Oh, stuff's falling off. It kind of covers this up and I don't want it to cover all that. So I might do something cool and just drill holes in there or just arch this and triangulate these two tabs. For this end piece, I doubled the metal over and I made a tab here because there's a possibility I may tap a little hole in the bottom of this head, but I don't want to do that yet. I don't want to mess with these heads at all. Unfortunately, the bottom of these Panchitos don't have the holes to put the tins on. So here's what we got. Let me put this together real quick. I'll show you what the plans are. It's not completely done yet. but I'm getting close. Welcome to my life. You know where that went, right? I think. Uh-oh. Where'd it go? Oh boy. There it is, right in front of my face. It's pretty rigid. That's why I folded this over, to make this rigid. I don't want this to vibrate. Still got to do a little shaping, but don't want that happening. So we got tabs on the top. We got it nice and tight to the block. I still got to weld a little in this corner, and I ground too thin right there. I got to weld that. But then it wraps around the bottom right here where this arches and the casting of the block. I'd like to take that little bit extra off right here. And then this is what I'm thinking. I bent this extra tab over right here. See where that blue mark is? See the blue mark? There's enough room to tap threads in there. If I bend this up at a 90-degree angle right here, like this, I can put a screw in there. But I don't want to do that. We'll see what happens. This is, I can't vibrate. I can always take this back to here. I don't know. I already got the cool tins on here. I don't want to completely restrict all this. I was thinking about taking the little bent parts of the cool tins that kind of arch up on the inside underneath here and cutting them off. When I put these on, these Chinese tins, they did not cover up the cool tins. They stopped like right there, and it just looked silly. So that's why I put this extra piece on here. Don't know if I'm keeping these. Don't know what I should do. Please put your comments in. I'm wondering if I should put another piece here. I don't know. To here is where that little flap was that I cut off. That had the two holes in the top. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. That's the cool tins and the industrial tin for the 3/4 side. For a Baja with the exhaust that goes over top. The other thing about these Chinese tins in this opening here is I don't know how I'm going to get the little rubber boots to line up back on here again, if this has to be bigger. So it's split right there and right there. I mean, I can join that together again. I almost thought about cutting this part of this out because the intakes for the Panchitos absolutely did not fit. See the line on the top? Right here. That is how much I had to take off of this one to make this fit on here. There you go. And now it's like minimal airspace between the intake and the tin. I mean, like a mil or two. I got a lot of work and testing and learning on this piece of junk, but man, it wasn't even close. This piece that was welded on here was completely off center. I did tap that in with a hammer a little bit, so I kind of hugged that. because this side was like flipped up and this one was bent all the way down. Just the press when they mold these, it's not even close. So I'm thinking about cutting this section of this out so that I can make this little hump here to get over the Panchitos, this part of the head. Yes, I thought about grinding that off, but no, I'm not doing that. I'm not messing with these heads. Starting to get there. The other thing I've been working on is the shroud. I put about 4 or 5 hours into this thing yesterday, and I had to take quite a bit off the bottom of here for this to sit down in here. Had to hammer on that a little bit. That was touching the case. I had to sand this down. I had to hammer on that a little bit. I had to cut a bunch of this off. I had to cut a bunch of this off because it was cutting into the case. But you know, this is my experimental fan shroud with the Type 4 cooler and the crazy exit tin exhaust that I made. Wrestling with the Chinese tins. Fun. Learning as I go. Never did anything like this before, but I'm filling up the data bank with all kinds of cool knowledge about how these things work and what I need to do to make it work. I've been following Brent on Haptic Garage and kind of watching how he made his tins out of one of these and added onto it, but then I realized, well, that isn't going to work for me. So I had to do my own version. Okay, it's been another late night. It's the next weekend. I'm back at it. Been doing a lot of work that I have not been filming, but I'll show you what I have so far. It may not look like I got a lot done in here, but I'll tell you what, I've been jamming. I put this little piece in here. It kind of hugs the block because, again, those cool tins only came up to about here, about where that bolt is, and all this was open. So I figured I'll put that little piece in there. Let me know what you guys think about that piece, if it's going to restrict me, if it's going to block anything, or if it's a good idea. I did a lot of fitting. I basically got this all lined up now. I still have not figured out what I'm going to do here. I'm probably going to end up putting a little strip in the inside of this circle so that the spark plug boots will fit on there again, and then reattach these as I go. We got the exit tin on there, and I've been kind of playing around with this too. I was getting sidetracked. I made a stupid little diverter thing, so if you're tuning, get in there. It's just very crude, but if you're tuning, it would essentially blow the air up and out of your face. That's one little thing I was working on. And I also kind of made this thing. It's just an extension in case this does need to go out further. I have a nice long extension I can put in there. Kind of looks ridiculous. I hope it doesn't have to stick out that far, but when I mocked it up right about here, you can see how close that is where the front of that air cleaner is going to be. So not too far away from here. So I'm a little concerned about this and that air cleaner being right here. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, I started mocking this up. I haven't made it yet. Just trying to think ahead, you know. Hopefully this camera angle works for you guys. I'll check. But this is the 1-2 side that I've been working on. And basically here is where I'm at. Starting to make my own cardboard tins to get this to work. This has been an experience. Because the way that the pistons are offset on either side, everything's different. This is something that I did not think of. I thought I was just going to make one side templates, flip them over, make a reverse pattern of them. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter what kind of engine you're working on. The pistons are offset. Nothing is going to line up from one side to the other. So I completely forgot about that. So this has kind of been the process. I make it fit. I get it where I want. If there's any extensions or anything I forgot, like this where I want to fold this over and double this metal up, I make it out of tape. I get it wrapped around the back side, underneath where I want everything to go. And then what I'll do is I'll cut this, flatten this all out, do the twisting of this little part right here that I need to, and then cut this completely off and weld it in the correct position. Of course, that takes several times back and forth. You got to tack it, put it up, make sure it's right, put it back on. I'll do my bends up here for my tabs. There'll be a couple holes in here so I can mount this. And then on this side, I will also make this little front piece, which again is completely different on the other side. But I started doing that last night and then I got tired and I called it. I also have to do work on the upper tins. This piece has to be extended. This piece has to be extended. Same with the other side. Lots of figuring and measuring and doing things 40 times before you figure out exactly where it's got to be. I did get to the point where I needed to mock this entire thing up to make sure everything was going to line up and the alternator was going to sit flat in the stand, which it does. I'm not sure if that's lining up perfect. It's really close. It might need a spacer on the alternator because I got the sand seal on here. I think I have that spacer somewhere. I did a lot of cleanup of the welds inside of here. And then I found this. That space is too big. Yeah, I could push it all the way over, but then it doesn't line up correctly. So basically the bottom of this needs to go in more, and then this flap has got to come up and match that little indentation there. So after about 2.5 hours of pounding and shaping, I got it hugged in around that bolt back there and sealed around this part of the case. This little flange area can be pounded back down in here. Just kind of pound it out of the way to get everything lined up for that. This is kind of ugly with all the hammer marks, but you will never see it, so I'm not worried. This is steel, not aluminum, so it's kind of hard to work with. Now, what I need to do is take this piece, put it in here, cut, shape, get it where I want it, drill these holes into this piece, mount it, and then start taking off or adding whatever I need to make this match with this, and then I can finish the rest. Then I can fold this part over like this, back so that the seam's on the bottom. Then that'll make this front edge more rigid. And then from there we can finagle our little piece that we made in here for the front to match that one, if you can see it. Yeah, this thing. I'll just keep moving along and giving you a few pictures here and there. Just want to give you an update. Working with this metal is definitely giving me an arm workout. Little tweaks and bends and making this match up nicely, which it's pretty close. I can take this little bit out here and that would probably fit right up in there. Yeah, this isn't gonna, I shouldn't say this isn't gonna be too bad, because that's when it gets bad. Making your own tins from scratch is a time-consuming process, but I like how this is going. Everything's sealing up nice. We're getting there. So this piece took me a lot longer than I thought, but my tins are almost complete. I'll show you what I got. Here she is. Been banging on this for a couple hours. This nut right here was a problem for me because the shape of the cylinder and the way it kind of tucks in here like an hourglass, and then getting this lined up with the exhaust and trying to get, I'm probably going to have to put this hole out here more to the back or front, whatever you want to call it. So I'll fill that one up and put another hole next to it. But here we go. She tucks in there pretty good. That was a pain in the butt, as you can see. But that's in the back and no one's ever going to see it. I got it wrapped tight around the case. It's pretty much sealed around the top. I got holes lined up. Okay. So she's in there. And she doesn't rattle, but I'm still going to put a little piece here that connects with this. Let me put you in the stand. Getting heavy. All right. So I kind of like the way it looks on the bottom. Looks pretty cool. Like I said, I'm going to put a piece like this over here. Cut these two little tabs off. And then do a bunch of fixing little stuff and pinholes and cleaning welds up. And that's going to be it. So here is this side. Pretty much all done. I am going to cut some of this out of here. You can see the X's. I'm going to take that off. This is going to have to be filled with weld and then reground down. We got to take a little bit off right here. So like I said, a lot of cleanup and stuff. I was told putting some Duraglass on these will make them look nice and I can sand them down and paint them, but I don't know. We'll see. I still have to make these. I still have to make this piece. I cut it out already. I got the metal for it. I just haven't made it yet. It was a long day, and I got to make this yet. I was really hoping to wrap this up this weekend, but this piece, man, it was a pain. Everything's tucked up tight. It's up against the case, wrapped around. I could probably bang that down just a little bit, and then grind the rest of these welds down, smooth it out, make it look halfway decent. Not really worried about it, but good to go. That's not a dent, that's a reflection. It freaked me out for a second. All right. So I'm liking that. That looks pretty cool. Hopefully it does the job and it doesn't vibrate. We will see. Testing to come soon. I am really hoping that I can get all these tins basically to the point where I want them, where they all fit and they're at least in primer, and then I can test this engine. I got to take the heads off, put the heads back on, and do push rod length and valve geometry and tune and everything, put the distributor in, all the other bits and pieces and goodies for the rest of the engine, which shouldn't take long, and then we'll be ready to fire this thing. I can't wait. But first, I probably got at least another weekend of welding, sanding, grinding, cleaning. Car season's right around the corner here in Western New York. We're getting real close. Another late one on a Sunday. I got to work tomorrow. Get out in the garage, get something done. Have a good day, everybody.